If you currently receive PIP, ESA, LCWRA or LCW, or you are saying that you can't find work or you can't go to work because you have a long-term health condition that is impacting what you do in your daily, then you would have already experienced perhaps various different changes in the amounts of money you're getting paid and the different things you are now required to do. And I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about that because recently somebody I know actually had a home visit out of the blue, 14 days notice, and they weren't incredibly, I would say, physically impaired in any way whatsoever. It was really just because they had been off work with a fit note for a long time. They were getting LCWRA and they weren't looking for work, but that has all changed now. So in this video, I'm going to be going through what those changes are, how it affects people on PIP, LCWRA, ESA and LCW. And I'm also going to be talking a little bit about how much money you can have when you're on these benefits and how you can save when you're on these benefits, and even about self-employment as well. And obviously, because I used to work for DWP and this was something that I used to treat on the daily, I know quite a lot about it. So this all goes back really to when Rishi Sunak was in power, when he wrote the Basic Health and Disability Reform paper. And in that paper, there was a clear plan from 2025 right through to 2028 to get as many people into what they call an intensive work search labour market regime. This means that when you're in the IWS, so intense work search regime, you have to look for work. And if you're not looking for work, you're going to lose your benefits. Now, lots of people were thinking, well, it's okay for me because I'm on LCW or I'm LCWRA. However, as we can see from their plans, they want to move everybody from LCWRA into the LCW, so limited capability for work group, and then move them from there into the next group, which is IWS, intensive work search. Now, currently there are only two main factors that are going to stop that from happening. Number one is if you are a severe risk to yourself or somebody else, or you have severe incontinence. Those are the only two factors that are going to stop you from having this process applied to you. And in this simple infograph, you can see basically that LCWRA currently means you don't really have to look for work. LCW, limited capability for work, means that you have to look for adaptive work or work that you can do. And IWS, the intensive work search, means you have to look for work. Now, there are even further changes to universal credit, and that is when you are in IWS, if you haven't found work within 12 months, or gone on some kind of a work employment program, then your work coach can literally basically subject you to going to an available place of work and going to interview for it. So basically they can start picking jobs for you and more or less mandating that you go to those. The choice is, if you don't, your benefit will be suspended and maybe even closed. That is the new entitlement to universal credit. Alongside that, there are changes with PIP and the new health element within universal credit. Now, currently, PIP is a non-means tested benefit. That means you can work when you're on PIP, you can be self-employed when you're on PIP, you could probably have £1 million in the bank and still be on PIP if you wanted to. That's not the case with ESA, LCWRA or LCW or even universal credit. So how much money can you actually have in the bank when you are on these different benefits? So first off is PIP. PIP is not means tested, so you can have, as I said, as much money in the bank as you wish. Universal credit, you can have up to £6,000 in your bank before the other money in that after that £6,000 is then taken into account for your income. So how does that work? Once you have £1 over £6,000 in your bank account and you are claiming universal credit, They will take whatever is after that £6,000 as income. DWP then start making deductions from your universal credit for every block of £250 over that. Now, there is one legal way around that, and that is putting whatever excess money is in a trust fund. However, you need to be doing it for legitimate reasons. You can't just be doing it to, to basically defraud DWP. That is not going to work. So maybe if it's a safeguarding issue for yourself or someone else in your family, that might be relevant. If you're on LCWRA, that is still universal credit, so the same rule applies, the one I've just told you about. The same also applies for LCW. Now, if you're on the new style ESA, contribution-based ESA, there is no savings limit. Your savings, and most importantly, your partner's savings, don't normally affect it. And let's not forget as well, with the new FEAR Act, when I'm talking about savings, if you are living with somebody in a household, they will take into account all of the household savings. And because of the FEAR Act, there is more transparency around what organisations like DWP can see more than ever. Now, if you're on the old income related ESA, it's almost like universal credit. You could keep up to £6,000. It didn't affect your benefit. Over that, then there is going to be a deduction. And if you have over £16,000 in the bank, you are not entitled to universal credit whatsoever. They will just close your claim. So this brings me on to a big question that a lot of you, I've been seeing you've been putting in the comments, is like, how can I save then when I'm on universal credit? Well, I have two playlists that can help you. The first one is Money Safe, and the second one is Working from Home or Working for Yourself playlist. They're all about money. Now, I am a massive advocate for self-employment. I replaced my government salary entirely twice over with self-employment. That self-employment income continues to grow every single year, way faster than any full-time traditional job. It also allows me to put my health first, which definitely was never done by DWP when I worked for them. And because of that, I'm able to manage other things in my life a little bit better and prioritise other things too. Now, universal credit, believe it or not, if you're on universal credit and you don't really know what to do, or maybe you're middle-aged, and I say this for the middle-agers because I know DWP and lots of these organisations do so much for young people, which is wonderful. But what about the people who are middle-aged? The people that have been through trauma, divorces, breakdowns, got diagnosed with things midlife, have become homeless because of a marital situation, or maybe they just lost their job. There's literally no help for people unless you are self-employed. And that is why I think self-employment is the key. It helped me out. I've coached thousands of people now privately in building their own businesses and literally learning to live off the system. So not having to take any benefits, not being reliant on the system whatsoever. Now, to start, you can start a business on universal credit, and it is almost like getting a free bank loan in a sense, because universal credit does allow you to build your business slowly for 12 months until you start to become profitable. And any money that you earn, you can literally reinvest back into your business, and then it's not considered as profit. And if you're already getting like your rent paid for you, you're getting a little bit of money from universal credit, and then you can earn a little bit more on top, whether that be ESA, LCWRA, or just your standard universal credit. You could literally be like £1,000 or more better off every single month by being self-employed. That would not happen with a job. Because with a job, you can't write off expenses like, mileage, petrol, different things that you need for your business, or the different things you'd be using at work. In your business, you can write those things off against your profit. Now, I have a complete video here all about starting a business on universal credit. I also have a really good resource underneath, which is called the Online Business Bundle. In here, I have an entire section about how you deal with the accounts when you're on universal credit and how you calculate things like the minimum income floor, how you make it legally work for you, and all sorts of other things too. So I'm going to leave that all down there for you, and let me know what questions you have about this, and I will do my best to help you out.